Having animals is fun, but if you're not careful, it can be extremely expensive to feed them and extremely time intensive to take care of them. Learning about rotational grazing has all but cut my feed costs, and basically my animals now take care of themselves. Traditional farming would have you believe that I'm sitting in one pasture right now, but really it's 1,000 small pastures, and treating it that way, having my animals graze a small portion at a time, successionally moving throughout the pasture, allows me to get the most out of my land and the nutrients that it has to offer. When you keep animals in a barn or in a confined area, you have to bring their food source to them, whether that's hay or additional grain and supplements. It's all on you to provide for their every need. A single patch of land, especially when there's too many animals on it, will get overgrazed, trampled, and will quickly become a dirt patch. In those areas, it's also often that pests and disease really become a problem for your animals. In nature, you have all kinds of different species coming through and taking what they need from the land and then moving on. And we're basically going to try to do that here with our animals as well. We're going to put a whole bunch of different species on a small area of land for a very short amount of time where they can get the tastiest grass and the best nutrients and then move on to somewhere else. Meanwhile, in the pasture right behind them that they just grazed, the grass is growing back up just like it does when you mow your lawn. Taking a big pasture and breaking it up into a bunch of small pastures and then moving your animals frequently through it is called rotational grazing. The biggest benefit of rotational grazing, for me at least, is a huge time savings in their care because my animals can stay out on the field for 9 months out of the year, and an enormous cost savings because then I don't have to feed my animals for 9 months out of the year. 9 months out of the year, protection from the elements for my animals comes from a little rickshaw that was made from a whole bunch of parts and pieces scavenged around the farm. My favorite being the wheels, which were from a little kid's bike that was left here by the previous owner, and my 2 Colorado mountain dogs, Johnny and June, who are trained to stay with the livestock 24/7 and protect them from potential predators, as well as alert me to any kinds of other issues or distress going on. Whether you've got a couple chickens in your backyard or 300 head of cattle on your property, learning and implementing rotational grazing and regenerative agriculture can drastically cut your feed costs, as well as help you raise healthier, happier animals with far less required human input. If you put animals on a patch of grass, they're going to eat whatever they want first, the thing that tastes the best, the thing that has the most nutrients, and then their natural inclination is to move on. But if they're enclosed in a very small space and don't have access to the next thing that they want, they're going to continually choose the less and less best thing because they're still hungry. And that's exactly how overgrazing takes place. Overgrazing ultimately damages the soil and the land, but it also can really endanger your animals because hungry animals are more inclined to eat plants that aren't as good for them. Here, because we're moving our animals every couple days, the grass and the land doesn't have that pressure. It's not getting picked over until there's nothing left. It's not getting trampled until it's so compacted new seeds can't grow. And they're not manuring or pooping right where they're eating, so those parasites don't get re-ingested by the grass that they're eating. There's also another trick for fly and parasite management that we've started implementing here on this farm, and that is chickens. Chickens love eating fly larvae, parasite eggs, and they also love digging through manure and spreading it around and scratching the soil's surface. They're constantly aerating the soil. They're stirring up the livestock manure, but they're also leaving manure deposits of their own. They're supplementing their own feed costs by eating grass and bugs and other pests that we'd otherwise have to deal with and turning them into delicious golden orange eggs. Our local grandfather of regenerative agriculture, Joel Salatin, likes to compare grasses to flavors of ice cream. Certain animals have their own favorite flavors of ice cream and they're going to gravitate to those first. Other animals have different favorite flavors of ice cream and they're going to gravitate to those first. And so that's why we are using so many different species of animals, because our farm isn't just a flat, square piece of single species grass. Regenerative agriculture is a lifelong pursuit and something that's not all going to happen at once. What I'm doing right now to implement the things that I know about rotational grazing is having the animals graze small sections for a short amount of time, following them with the chickens. But then another step is mowing the grass behind them. And that's another really important part of this process. Cub Cadet, knowing that we were going to spend a whole lot of effort educating folks on regenerative agriculture here on this farm, donated a mower to the effort. After the livestock moves through and then the chickens come through, we come in and mow because that provides compostable mulch in the form of the cut off grass. It also helps weeds from going to seed and getting really out of control, but it also provides the exposure to sunlight that a lot of different seeds need to be able to actually germinate and grow. And that's exactly how we get such a diversity of species of things here in the pasture. This fall, I'm going to oversee the entire pasture once again with a variety of different species that has been prescribed by the state of Tennessee for what our livestock needs. And because the animals that I currently have could not possibly keep up with this pasture, I'm also going to be adding some beef cattle to the mix this fall. Just like the donkeys and the goats and the sheep and the chickens all have their favorite things to eat, the cows are the exact same way, and incidentally, it's all different. Cows also have a pretty uniquely shaped mouth that is actually designed to be able to efficiently convert grass into calories, and that's exactly how we're going to really get on top of this pasture management program. This all may sound well and good to someone who has a lot of land, but a lot of people don't have that much land, but do have animals, and these same principles apply. Managing whatever land you have available with regenerative agriculture in mind is often likened to actually buying more physical acreage. Building soil health and improving plant diversity increases the nutrition that's available to your grazing animal. A lot of states measure the average nutritional content in a given area, like an acre, in what they call a number of cow days. And that's the number of days that an acre of land in an average county in the state would be able to keep a cow alive. Most places here in Tennessee, it's 80 days. On Joel Salatin's farm, where he's been practicing regenerative agriculture for 40 years, it's 400 days. So by practicing regenerative agriculture, he's basically purchased many times the property he actually has available in nutritional stuff that he's able to feed his animals, which means that he can raise more animals on smaller areas of land and have healthier, happier animals that need a whole lot less medication and human intervention and human time in the form of care. So instead of having to multiply the land that we have available to support the animals that we want or have, we just need to multiply the nutrients that are available in the land that we already have. We started the year right after we moved to this property by strip grazing this entire property with my friend Zach's 125 sheep. And that was an awesome crash course in rotational grazing and how to use the Premier One electric netting fencing that we use to keep the animals contained. But since then, I've been implementing those same tactics and strategies, just with a much smaller herd. Premier One fencing allows me to use my property to the best of my abilities as it is right now, making the most of what I've got. Obviously, we're going to get a bigger herd and more animals that will help us to manage this property better. But for now, we've got the goats, the sheep, the chickens, and the donkeys. The guard dogs protect them. We've got the chickens to follow them up. And then we come and clean it up with the mower. And not only is my land visibly better than it was a year ago at this time, my animals are healthier and happier than they've ever been. And I've gone for 8 months now without having to feed them basically anything except a few minerals and some treats that I use to bribe them. If you're interested in learning more about rotational grazing, I have an entire article written about it on my Squarespace website. I would love to give a huge shout out to Squarespace for their continued support of this channel, which makes making videos like this possible. I've been using Squarespace to host my website since 2012 when I started my business, and it's a perfect platform for someone like me who's not super tech savvy to create a beautiful website by just dragging and dropping what I like into beautifully designed designer templates on Squarespace. If you're interested in starting a website of your own to show a gallery of your own work to your potential clients, or to start an online store, or even just share a blog with people who might be interested in what you're doing, you should definitely check out Squarespace to host your own site. Head on over to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/AnnofAllTrade to get a 10% discount. If you like this video, I'm sure that you will love 125 sheep. It's linked below. I will see you in the next video. Cheers!